We'll bring in Michael Parkhurst. See, now we're flying. See, Parky drops in. First and foremost, Parky, how was the golf?
Golf was a lovely day.
Mhm.
Performance not the best, but that's all right. I've learned to enjoy being out there regardless of how I play. So
Well, and so I mean that was the. Oh, so how did the breakfast ball go? Because you mentioned the legend of the breakfast ball, which was something that I had never heard of. I've done mulligans, but I've never done breakfast ball. So did the breakfast ball aid or impede?
I didn't need to use a breakfast ball, which was fantastic. I mean, I could have used a few breakfast balls later in the round,
Mm-hmm.
but the
But
breakfast ball.
you can't defer breakfast balls and turn them into brunch balls or anything.
You know what? I like that idea. A brunch ball.
I mean, it just makes sense for those of us that need these kinds of things.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Uh,
But no breakfast ball.
okay, and I know that is Greg still like in the wilderness? Does he? Where is
Who
what
knows? I
is
don't know, John. Who
Scars
knows?
up to?
I texted him at 9:28 and I say, "Hey, you jumping on today, right?" And then I just got a text back and said, "Oh shoot, I forgot." I don't know where he is. I don't know what's going on.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for hopping on and hanging out as you and Greg always do to discuss stuff. We're getting close to Gold Cup, and we're getting close to international competitions and things like that. When it comes to the state, I guess I'll start with a 30,000-foot question. When you look at the growth of U.S. soccer and where they are, winning CONCACAF Nations League, having Atlanta United players attached to it, the growth and the influence from all of that, and now you're chasing after Gold Cups. What's it been like to see the country with this generation of talent work its way through, get Nations League taken care of, and now chasing after Gold Cup? What's it been like for you to see this growth for U.S. soccer?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's pretty sweet, and I think that we all had hopes that we would get there, and I think that Mexico was on top for a long time, but in the last 10, 15 years, we've become more competitive with them and, taking it to them every now and then. And obviously the Dos a Cero at home. But, it seems like now we are firmly on top and looking down on them and the rest of CONCACAF. I think that, Canada is right there. They've got a really good squad, and and I'm sure Mexico will turn things around pretty quickly. And some of these other countries are going to get a lot better, as players decide to play for Jamaica instead of England, or Trinidad instead of somewhere else. And so it's never easy. But that being said, this is definitely the most talented group that U.S. soccer's ever seen, and so. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to not only have talent, but guys that fight and compete and enjoy each other. Go out there and have fun doing
And
it.
you mentioned the Cruton aspect of it. I mean, down here in the Southeast, you know all about Cruton. It's all about the Cruton, and you're getting those dual nationals now, where the U.S. men's national team is like, oh, okay, we'll bring in Senor, we'll bring in Zendejas, we'll bring in Johnny, we'll bring in Balogun, all of these heavy duty guys that in the past, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was mentality or what. It's like, nah, we don't get that. It's like, I don't know, like when we were in high school or in college, and you're walking, you're walking to class, and you see your dream girl. I mean, she is like, she's hanging out with all the jocks, and all this kind of. I never get a girl like that. That now. I mean, that was U.S. soccer for the longest time. The dual nationals, they never really got chased. And you're just kind of sitting there and you're seeing the dream girl with all the jocks walking through the quad, and you're going, "No, I don't have a shot." Now, the last couple of years, you're seeing the U.S. take their shot, and you're seeing the dream girl, come and hang out with you more. I mean, what's it been like to see these dual nationals flip and be a part of things too?
Yeah, it's great, and I think that Jurgen was probably the one that really started things as far as getting dual nationals to commit. But I think there's there's a difference between a dual national picking the U.S. because it gives them the best chance to play in a World Cup, and dual nationals that are bought in and really really into it and want to be a part of the culture and the way we play and all these different things. And I think that that's where it's exciting. And to be honest, he is a talented striker, right? There's no mistake about it that we've been missing that position for a little while now, since probably Josie was in his prime, I guess.
Yep.
And so it's a huge lift to us for sure, especially at that position. But he in particular, I mean, definitely had the ability to go elsewhere and do other things, and play for other countries. So that's a huge get for us, and it seems like he's fitting in the locker room right away. And so kudos to the whole organization for making sure that got done.
Yeah, and that's been pretty sweet to see from a U.S. national standpoint. When it comes to, let me get the Beyond Goals update. I know that since it's the summertime, things kind of slow down a little bit. But when you look at where things are with Beyond Goals right now, how busy is this off season where there isn't a whole lot of activity going on? What are you guys doing in the off season to try to get things ready so you're hitting the ground running come fall?
Yeah, just making sure that we are organized and following up with people. And I think that the academy playoffs are just finishing up, so just checking in to see how all of our mentees did in those tournaments and set themselves up well for this short off season they have in the summer. Taking breaks and then getting after it to prepare for next season. And making sure that we've got our materials and constantly learning and adjusting and improving what we're capable of giving to them. So that's kind of where we are this summer.
Well, and so when you're talking to mentees in a tournament, I know that obviously as things are going along and you're having those successes, how measured is the conversation? How enthusiastic is the conversation that you have as a mentor? How measured is the conversation, just making sure that they're locked in on the task at hand and not looking too far down the road, not looking ahead of the next game? What are those conversations like when you're talking to somebody in tournament?
Yeah, just to focus on the present. Like you said, John, you don't worry about, what other teams are doing in your group or who else is out there or, who might be watching or what if this or what if that, right? Just living in the present, controlling what you can control, and enjoying the opportunity. Yeah, of course, some of these games are a little more intense and there's more on the line, right? But they're also awesome opportunities. And, maybe the last time to play with this specific group. Right. Every year groups are changing a little bit. Right. And so enjoying the time that you get with the current group that you're with, because you don't get that time back, as we know.
Mm-hmm. Do your mentees, when you mention enjoying the experience, does that generation today, do they enjoy it as they go, or do they, after a certain amount of time, they go, man, I wish I would have enjoyed it more? Do they enjoy it in the present tense, or is there those thoughts of, man, I wish I would have enjoyed it more back then, if you talk to them later down the line?
Yeah, I think most of them do a pretty good job of enjoying it in the moment. I think that, certainly there's times when, all of us get caught up in the day to day, and forget about the big picture thing that's going on. But I think that for the most part, right, they're still loving the game, still loving the team aspect of things, and that's what you really look back and you think about and you enjoy, right? When I look back to my youth, childhood, and playing games, it's not necessarily like winning the tournaments. It's being around the group and the trips that we went on and being in a hotel and hanging out with friends and off the field relationships. Those types of things that you really look back and value.
How many of those teammates and players from back then are you still in contact with today? Can you sit there and pick up your phone and dial it up and go, I'm gonna hit up, my buddy from way back then? How much of those old relationships or those first relationships that you were a part of when you were playing, how many of those do you still have today?
Quite a few. Yeah, quite a few, which is crazy. I mean, we played together though from, when I was like 7 or 8 years old until I left for high school when I was 14. So, a lot of forming years back then, and a lot of time together on the field and off the field. So, yeah, there's a handful of guys that I still connect with monthly, see when I go back into town, catch up with on social media, of course, and no, great long relationships, lifelong relationships.
What are those conversations like these days about the good old days? What are those conversations like? How much ribbing is going on? How much stretching of the incidents goes on with all those conversations?
Every now and then, for sure. Whether it's mini golf or on the regular golf course, or now we just bond a lot about, parenting and the challenges there and youth sports. And now we're on the other side of it thinking, oh my God, some of these parents are crazy. And, oh my gosh, this coach is nuts and that coach is nuts. And like, hey, what are you doing for your kid with this and that? And, different challenges these days.
Well, because I mean, you've got that peer support system, and it's something that you guys talk about, that you and Greg talk about with your mentees, to have that support system, to have those guys that you can have the conversation with, regardless of when it is. That if you pick up the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, that there's somebody that's going to pick up the phone there on the other end of the line, and when you can continue to have those conversations, I mean, the fact that you and Greg and a mentor can sit there and reach out and have these guys understand, the younger players, that these relationships will be with you for as long as you let them, and just enjoy them for what they are, because they're going to be vital for you 30, 40, 50 years down the line. I mean, I think that's big, though.
Totally. And yeah, that's why I mean, and it's sometimes difficult, right? Because especially in some of the high level teams today, it's a little cutthroat, right? And it's more like a professional environment where it's like, how close do you get to somebody, because you don't know if they're going to be there next year, you don't know if you're going to be there next year, or is the new guy going to take my spot on the team? Those things, where it was back in the day, you kind of had your team, and maybe one guy changed every few years because he you know played a different sport or moved or something like that, but it wasn't like it is today. So yeah, it's difficult for sure, but you never know where those lifelong buddies are going to be and when you're going to meet them. And I always thought, like, hey, to have that confidence, of just being friends with people and welcoming new guys, and knowing that, okay, it's I can still be friends and welcome somebody and then compete with them for a starting spot.
Well, and I think that, and considering that I'm 712 years old, I mean, when I was growing up, it was easy to have those friends because you weren't as concerned about them taking your job, or taking your position, and you get to you were still friends at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And I think that as we've gotten closer to present day, because of how things have evolved when it comes to sports, that possibility or probability is there in the back of your mind. Okay, this guy might take he might take my spot. He may cost me X. He may cost me an opportunity. He may cost me a chance to start. He might cost me a chance to do something else at the next level. I mean, I don't know when that changed, but that seems to sadly be more of the case sometimes, where you're thinking more about the outsider taking what's yours, as opposed to just being a part of a collective and enjoying the experience, and rising tide lifts all boats, basically, where we all can improve if we all share the same attitude. I mean, when do you think that changed?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Is it a generational thing? Like, maybe, 5, 10 years ago, as things escalated worldwide, just in general? I mean, or was it?
No, I think just the level of youth sports has gotten much higher, right? The specialization of sport. You know, I also honestly think that the cost of college goes into it as well, because I think parents are either consciously or subconsciously pushing their kids so that they can get a college scholarship. Um, or it's parents pushing kids because they didn't, they look back and things that we're talking about, they didn't take advantage of during their time, and they want their kids to do it, so they're pushing them to do it. I think there's a lot of that as well. And again, we just lose sight of like some of the main characteristics of sport, and that's developing these relationships and having fun and being active and healthy, versus like hey, starting and scoring and accomplishment, that type of thing. And there's so many opportunities out there, right, with individual coaching and so many different opportunities, which is great, right? It's awesome, but that's definitely pushed the envelope.
The whole living vicariously thing through your kids and having them push, having the parent push. I mean, it's that to me is one of the things I think that is more prevalent these days, where you have the regrets of the parent being pushed upon the kid, and the kid doesn't want to let the parent down. They want to live their own life, but at the same time, it's something that's really delicate that I think that's forced on a lot of kids these days.
Yeah, totally. I still, thinking about it, and the more I read and understand things, and it's like, you go to all these youth games and you've got parents screaming on the sidelines, and they're so focused on winning this game, right? Winning that day. And I think that's, it rubs off on the kids. And then, they're just so focused on winning and winning and winning, that they forget, like, okay, even if we lose, lollipops, I agree.
Abby, yep.
Even if they lose, they learn more in those losses if you're able to, right? But are we able to learn from losses if we're just so focused on the winning? So,
I mean, and it sounds like it drives you nuts when you see the parent trying to force themselves and their ideas upon their kids, and you can tell sometimes that the kid either doesn't enjoy it or is just kind of putting up with the parent and what the parent wants to do, but the kid doesn't get to advance and have a life because of all the pressure that the parent's putting on them.
Yeah, I feel bad for the kids, because even when I was young, I still remember to this day the parents and the kids of those parents who were screamers on the sideline, and how they felt about it and what they would say and how they would feel and all these things. And you see it today, and I don't think that parents that are doing it mean poorly or they mean bad. It's just just a societal thing.
You said you're reading. What are you reading to help you out as a mentor?
Yeah. Oh God, I'm so bad with names, John. What was the title of it? I'll not. I thought I had it for a second.
You remember the author? 2 for 2. But okay, so then
I'll have to look it up and let you know.
Okay, but I mean, is it anywhere close in the office? But the reason that I brought that up is, mentors, while you have your knowledge base from what you've experienced in the past, you have that opportunity to sit there and learn as well. And so you're expanding yourself 3-dimensionally as a mentor, not just relying on what you did as an athlete. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, totally. And some of the stuff I'm learning is like, I've just experienced these things and I've done it a certain way because I knew, I don't know, instinctively or deep down, like, oh, this is helping me, but I didn't understand the why, maybe, or the science behind it, or and some of the stuff, like, I don't like, it's helping me understand like how other people view things and see things, right? Because I've obviously only seen it through my lenses in life, and understanding that, okay, not everybody obviously sees it the way I see it, when we're talking about confidence or, overcoming adversity and these types of things, right? So understanding how other people see it and why they see it that way and how to help them, and from people that are study these things and are a lot smarter than me is really helpful.
All right. So you mentioned what's going on with Beyond Goals. When's the next round of golf?
Oh, that's a good question. Not soon enough, obviously, because I don't have it on the calendar. Hopefully definitely before I speak to you next. But
okay, that's good.
I try and play once a week. It's a little challenging with the kids home in the summer.
Well, they should just be your caddies. Just have them be your caddies and lug your clubs around. So that way it's a family experience, but you still get to go out and play golf.
That is true. I do take them out and play 9 with them every now and then, and they're more excited to, drive the golf cart than they are to swing golf clubs.
As long as the governor is still in the golf cart, that's all that matters. Kat, thanks for coming in and pinch hitting and talking about the breakfast balls. As would you try and encourage your buddies for the brunch balls? I still thought that you always got a mulligan per 9. I mean, that was just how I've always played. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I agree. I need a mulligan per 9 at least. Okay. I could have used 6 the other day, but
well, just have a good weekend. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for coming in short notice and parachuting in as you always do at MF Parkhurst and BG Mentoring. Thanks, Cap.
Good to see you, John.
All right. You too. Michael Parkhurst, as always, coming in and crashing. That's always fun.